talk to Gage.
Alright, I need to preface this whole video saying that I have not watched anybody else's videos on this game, nor have I seen any interviews with the developers of SMT5. Therefore, I'm coming at this discussion with just the game itself, Shin Megami Tensei 5, and my own perspectives on it. These are just purely my own thoughts on what I just experienced just a few days ago. So, my history with this series is I really have none. This is the first Shin Megami Tensei game I have played personally. Although I recently, within the past year, really got into the Persona series. I still need to go and finish Persona 3, but I did finish Persona 5 and 4. Enjoyed those games a ton. I think they're phenomenal games, extremely fun. And honestly, it makes me want to go and finish Persona 3 now that, I just finished SMT5. But because I knew these were both Atlus games, I was really interested in SMT5 because it was a modern Atlus JRPG, and I really wanted some more modern gameplay from them. So that's what initially got me interested, and then I ultimately decided I would jump in and play it. So yeah, this is my first game in the series I've played. And really quick, the gameplay was absolutely awesome and really fun. Normally at the end of a game, I'm kind of ready for it to be done, and usually I'm, I'm dragging my feet, but honestly, I didn't really have that with this game. I didn't experience that. I just had a lot of fun throughout. The JRPG gameplay is extremely smooth and a lot of fun. It's just snappy and interesting and just flashy, fun to look at. The awesome monster recruitment system is really cool as well. Think like Pokemon, just way more in-depth because you have to have conversations and convince the creatures to join your party. That was super cool. And then just a variety of deep mechanics that I actually enjoyed quite a bit, like essences, fusion, strengths, and weaknesses in combat. All these things, you can go super buck wild on all these, and you can go kind of crazy with it. And I'll also say that the soundtrack is chef's kiss amazing. It is super, super good. The main battle song never got old to me. I like kind of the echoey, kind of, just epicness of it and how it builds. Super, super good. And then the story, which is what I mainly want to focus on in this video. It was interesting, surreal, and very confusing, just to say the least. This video is actually kind of my way of putting to words what I think about the story, and in turn helping me to understand it better as a result. So really, I'm trying to make sense of a lot of this stuff myself, and I wanted to do that here with all of you on my YouTube channel. So this is the point in the video where I tell you all, huge spoiler alert. Here's your spoiler warning for the rest of the video. If you've never played SMT5 and you plan on doing it one day, or story of this game matters to you at all and you want to go in blind, now is your chance to click off the video, because I want to go really in depth with the ending and the different themes and details within the story, and so now's your chance. So the lead up to the end of this game and then the ending itself is really something else. The entire game is basically building up to this final decision where you decide what happens to the world. You essentially get the choice of recreating it in your own way. You can choose to completely wipe away all gods and demons. You can choose and just make it like a world for humanity. You can choose to bring back God, like the creator God, like Christianity God, which was wild that he was even in this game at all. Then people like Lucifer also is in this game, which was really wild to me. And then there's like other gods. There's a lot of that kind of stuff in the story. And that's all throughout the game, again, leading up to a final decision that you make at the end. And I think the third decision was something like, it's like a world for humans and like gods and demons. That was the worst one. In my opinion, that was the worst decision. I was not gonna make that one. But anyways, Some people may be wondering what I think about certain liberties this game takes in its depiction of God, gods, and demons. As many of you know, I am a Christian myself. Really, the most important thing to remember is that this video game is a work of fiction. Also, there are certain things in here that some other Christians would probably get really angry over, such as Lucifer supposedly killing God in the story. Although it seems like even the characters aren't really sure if this happened because they always allude to it, and there was no evidence of it really happening. So that was kind of weird. However, I personally was willing to follow the story with its ludicrous ideas in order for the story to say whatever it wanted to say, whatever its point was. Even if it had to bend the truth in order to do it, I was here for it. I was here to see what it had to say. Hopefully everything I'm saying makes sense to all of you. I know it's kind of confusing, but as a piece of media, fiction, a work of art, I wanted to experience it, and it obviously had a lot to say, so I wanted it to just do its thing. And it is kind of hard to explain, but I personally really do like how this game is not afraid to try some, frankly, very wild things within its story that I feel like most studios would not have the guts to do. And I kind of commend Atlus for at least trying something really unique and interesting in that way, because I've never seen anything like this game, that's for sure. But I still find that this game makes some fatal mistakes, which takes a lot of the fire out of its ultimate conclusion if we were to reflect this plot onto our real world. And by the way, yes, I do think that is what we should do to some extent. After all, this game is extremely big on making really larger than life points with its story, themes, and world design. So I think it getting us, the player, to think deeply is its ultimate goal. And obviously, it's to have fun, because it is just a fun JRPG. Here are some of the problems I noticed with its logic. Lucifer, nor anything, can actually kill God. So even, again, in the story, it seems like it's not even a clear-cut thing, because one, we didn't see it happen, it's only talked about, and then all the characters don't even seem like they are definitively sure if it happened. But I think it's safe to say that's definitely what the game's trying to tell us, but it just felt weird to me because it was almost like no one really believed it. So that's one way that the logic in this game just doesn't really work or hold up, because God is above everything. If you read the Bible, there is nothing above God. He is the creator, and he's almighty and all-powerful. And even someone like Lucifer is not more powerful than him. The second thing that I noticed that was a problem was God is not a puppet master. God is not controlling anybody. He's given all of us free will. So that's a big thing, I think, with all of the SMT games, but at least with this one for sure, is the idea of control versus chaos. And control being if we just stay how things are currently, sort of with God. The writers, the creators of this game are coming at this issue thinking that it is an issue, thinking that God is just sitting up on his throne, controlling people in some way. And I don't know, unless I'm missing something specific it was saying, that's on the developer's part or the writer's fault for not making that come through as clearly. But as it was explained and said and portrayed in the story, it just doesn't make sense, because it's just not true. Truth is, all of us are free to make our own decisions, whether we honor or dishonor God, and that's totally up to us. That's not something that he's going to control and make you do. He's not going to make you like a mindless robot in any way. That just doesn't make any sense. And the third problem I noticed is following God shouldn't take away your free thinking or free will, as I said. Now, sure, you as a Christian will have set things that you believe in, which comes from the Bible, but that is with literally anything we choose to believe in life. It is not wrong to believe in something in general. Just believing in something is not wrong. Even if you were to take all of the religion out of the Bible and treat it like a guidebook to life, I would not recommend that at all. but it still holds up as a much better way to live your life than to just wing it. I will also say that I did find it really fascinating how Atlus, a Japanese studio, actually seemed to give God a slight bit of extra respect than the other gods in the story. Just the fact that he was even represented in this game was surprising to me. I did not expect it. I know Christianity is a thing in Japan, but it is not nearly as big as it is over in the West, I think. There was a few things that I noticed with this that for them to show respect. One was that they never really showed God or his face, like they didn't put a face to him. And I found that interesting. And they also treated the Bible as actual history, though very fictionalized in its representation, or its presentation. Because things like the garden and Adam and Eve, things like that are mentioned and they are talked about in the story as if they really happened. And I think that was interesting. I think it was cool how they kind of spun that in a fictionalized way to, again, just build on this world that, SMT has and Atlus made. Another problem I have is the writers are coming at this story with the presupposition that God, the creator, is sitting up on a throne and controlling this world. From what I have studied in the Bible as a Christian, I believe it is more accurate to say that God is not in control, but he is in charge. What this means is that in a lot of ways, God has placed us into this physical realm, set the rules for how it works, and interacts with it and us in different ways. But he isn't sitting up there as a corrupt God playing chess with our lives. I just don't think that's true in any way. I don't think it makes sense based on what we experience and see in our lives. But he does interact with us in different ways. I want to make that clear. He definitely does do that. All of this is why I personally do not see as much meaningful in this game's story overall with how it ultimately wrapped up. Though I will say that it was still a fascinating experience to play through, like firsthand, like first person, especially as a Christian person myself. It's just fascinating to see what the player is going to decide by the end of the game. I think what they were going for is if you were given the power to reshape the world, what exactly would you do with that power? And I think that's a really interesting question to ask. Few games lead up to such a large-scale climax as this game does. Your decision at the end is also such an interesting thing to experience. And yes, I did choose to leave God in charge of the world. That was the decision I made at the end out of the 3 that were given to me. I think it makes the most sense. It's what I would choose in real life. So that's what I did. So yeah, these are just some of my thoughts on SMT5. I know I've not, this video probably isn't super long or anything, but I just finished the game and I figured I might as well talk about some of the things that have been on my mind with it. Because I definitely have been thinking about this game some since I finished it. So I think it's worth playing for sure. I think it was a really fun game. It's really, really cool. But yeah, that's some of my thoughts. And I hope you all will leave your comments below as to what you think about this video, some of my thoughts, some of my quick, brief thoughts on this game and its story. And you all tell me your perspectives on it as well. Also, please do all the YouTube things, as this video was difficult to wrap my brain around and write the notes for. We are dealing with a very complex story here, after all. It was not easy to just sit down and write these points or these notes on it because I just felt like there was so much depth to it. So I did struggle making this video, but hopefully some of what I was really trying to say comes through and it made sense. But again, take it in the comments. If anyone has any thoughts on this game or my opinions on it, some of my thoughts about the story, then please leave that below. But again, this game is really, really cool. I had a great time with it, and it was exactly what I was looking for. The story wasn't as entertaining to me as something like Persona 5, but the gameplay and everything like that was just super, super cool to play through for the first time. Because I've never played anything like this other than like Pokemon, but that's like, the baby version of SMT, which, fun fact, SMT actually came out before Pokemon. I found that interesting. That's pretty wild. But anyways, that's the video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to hit the like button. If you didn't, I thank you for watching this long, and be sure to engage that subscribe button down below, and I will see you all in the next video. God bless. I wish I knew